Hey, in this video I want to talk about 4 reasons why people stay with toxic partners. This is known as the punishment trap. The first reason why people stay with toxic partners is due to intermittent reinforcement. Intermittent reinforcement is a little bit like when you go to the casino and you play the slot machines, and the casinos have it rigged so you don't win all the time, you only win sometimes. This is much more powerful than allowing you to win all the time or never allowing you to win. It's been found that intermittent reinforcement affects the circuitry in our brain. It leads to dopamine release, it leads to endorphins, it leads to serotonin, and all of these hormones and chemicals mixed together makes for a very potent cocktail, and it's why people become addicted to relationships. It's why people become addicted to gambling. That intermittent reinforcement makes people more addicted to things. And this is no different to being in a toxic relationship. You'll find that when you're in a toxic relationship, it's not all bad. Of course, there's going to be moments which are beautiful. There's going to be moments of passion. There's going to be wonderful moments, wonderful memories. And this is what people turn to in times of strife and difficulty. Humans are very, very selective when it comes to their memories. They found that parents don't actually enjoy, no surprise, bringing up their children. But what they do hang on to is those selective memories where the child first walks or the child first learns to speak. These are very, very special moments, and people think about these moments and suddenly everything is worthwhile because we have selective memories and just a little bit of reinforcement, some beautiful moments here and there. It reinforces us and makes us feel satisfied. So this is why you'll find that people often stay in toxic relationships. There's a lot of negative, 90% negative, 10% positive, and this intermittent reinforcement gives people the belief that things are going to get better, and it also fires up the reward circuitry in people's brains and makes them attached to people, to the wrong people in this case. The second reason why people stay in toxic relationships and get stuck is due to low self-esteem. If you have low self-esteem, you're likely to feel as though you're not worthy of love, right? You don't deserve to be loved, appreciated. You don't deserve somebody to take care of you. And they found in studies that people with low self-esteem are much more likely to get into toxic relationships. They're also much more likely to stay in toxic relationships. People who have high self-esteem are able to disconnect. They're able to see the picture clearly and know what they deserve and what they don't deserve. Whereas people with low self-esteem are much more likely to put up with a bad situation. They're much more likely to suffer in a toxic relationship. And so if you feel as though you're suffering in a long-term relationship, or you're dating, maybe it hasn't been that long, but it's toxic already. If you notice that, be very careful that you're not suffering from low self-esteem and this is keeping you stuck in the relationship. It can actually be a very beautiful thing when you realize this, because if you notice that you have low self-esteem, you can work about addressing it and fixing it, and this will improve the quality of your life and your relationships too. The third reason why people stay in toxic relationships is because they're scared to be alone. People don't want to be alone. And for a lot of people, sharing a bed with somebody who's the wrong person is better than sharing a bed with no one. This will put you in a very weak, difficult position because it will mean that you share a bed with somebody who's not right for you, somebody who's toxic for you. And if you can't be alone, that means you need to work on yourself. Right? Everybody has to be able to stand by themselves because life is not always going to take care of you. You're going to have to take care of yourself. People are not always going to be there to take care of you. And if you can't be alone, you're going to have a very difficult life. And if you notice that this is a weak point, this is something to address and ask yourself, are you staying in a toxic relationship just because you're scared of being alone? Is bad company better than no company at all? The fourth reason why people stay in toxic relationships and get stuck is due to what I call investment, overinvestment, or the sunk cost fallacy, which is where when you invest in something over and over again, you're much more likely to stay in that investment. Doesn't matter if it's money, if it's time, if it's effort. If you've been writing a book, trying to write a screenplay, trying to become an artist, trying to become a doctor or a lawyer, it doesn't matter. The more time you spend working on your career, the more time you spend investing in yourself, Even if it's not working out, you're much more likely to stick it out, because the more time that goes by, the less likely and willing you are to walk away, because it feels like a waste of time. And this is no different to relationships. The more time and effort you put into a relationship, the harder it is to walk away, because a lot of people will then think to themselves, well, I've already invested 5 or 10 years into this toxic person. If I walk away, it's all been for nothing. I'm a fool, right? I'm a fool for staying so long. But there comes a point in time where you have to wake up and realize that it's not going to get better. Toxic relationships, if they go on for 5, 10, 15 years, it doesn't get better. The truth is, you can see the end in the beginning. If you open your eyes and look clearly, you will know how it's going to end. When I talk to people in psychotherapy, they'll often tell me, I knew it wasn't going to work out, but I still married that person. Or I knew from the beginning we weren't compatible, but as time went by, I hung on to hope and I tried to make it work. But they knew, if you ask them honestly, that it wasn't going to work. But the more time goes by, the more they invest into somebody, the more likely they are to stay in the relationship and be scared to leave. The good news is that the more you become aware of these signs, the more you can work on where you're going wrong, why you're staying in a toxic relationship. If you can see it clearly for what it is, this gives you a chance to disentangle yourself from a difficult situation. It doesn't matter if you've spent 10 years in a relationship and it's toxic. Waking up and being able to move forward is a very, very important part of life, and it will liberate you. It's a very important learning experience. It's a growth experience. Investing into a toxic relationship for too long, you're going to have regrets, of course, but you're going to learn a lot as well. You're going to grow a lot as a person. So these are important things to think about. Are these the reasons why you're staying in a toxic relationship? And if so, just becoming aware of these reasons can help set you free. Now, if you want to know more about liberating yourself and disentangling yourself from a toxic relationship, I highly recommend you check out my new book, Master, Creator, Destroyer, Slave. You can pick up your copy today by clicking on the link below. And don't forget, I do Skype, phone, and email consultations. You can book a consultation with me on my website, develofattraction.com.